Hi guys, so painting miniatures to a standard we are happy with. Well, I've certainly found mine, and that's obviously with the slapchop painting technique. Something I've been doing now for a good 7 to 8 months, and it really has given me lots of enjoyment in both the actual painting process, as well as obviously looking at the miniature afterwards. Been able to look at them and think, yeah, I painted that, and well, I'm really happy with how it came out. Obviously, we all have different tastes, so what someone might like, someone else obviously won't like. And that's the great thing about painting. It is in the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, some people might want their sort of miniatures painted in nice, strong, vibrant colours, and others like me like to go more grim, dark. And yeah, the miniatures definitely had a tough life. But yeah, we're all different, and it's finding that happy medium of what we like. And one thing I've always said about the slap chop painting technique, and that is it's a great sort of start to your miniature. Obviously, they are looking great as they are when they're done. But yeah, you can take them that bit further, which is, well, what I'm going to try and do in this video. So starting with this lovely big box, kind of basically bought this because obviously it's got lots of miniatures in it. And I want to do some kit bashing. So I don't actually play any of the Space Marines. All the other sort of figures that come in this box, these are purely going to be sort of kit bashed, well, into small little dioramas, and just generally kit bashed into, well, other things I want to make. I bought this lovely box from Chaos Cards. There's a link in the description, guys. And there's a discount code there as well if you spend over £30 on their miniatures. So yeah, go and check them out. So yeah, with this one, obviously I'm doing the two big guys, Azrael and Vashtorr. Again, this is where, guys, I don't know much about the lore in any of the sort of Warhammer sort of scenarios. So never really seen either of these guys before. All I knew is I like the look of them, and yeah, I'm going to have a go at making them and painting them. So usual tools, yeah, clippers, some glue. I have now changed my blade in this because this blade I've been using for the last 4 months, and yeah, it's got glue on it and it's not very sharp at all. But it's great for obviously scraping away those mould lines and the sprue bits. So usual thing, cut the fella out. Yeah, this one I have followed the instructions just because there's quite a few bits to this dude. He is pretty awesome looking, and this is where in the past I'd have been very daunted about the whole sort of trying to paint this guy. So much so to the extent that I probably never would have painted this guy. Yeah, if we go back about a year when I used to always say in my videos I used to hate painting miniatures. So yeah, so if you're new here and obviously you've only seen my recent videos, you'll obviously hear me always saying I love painting miniatures. Well, that certainly wasn't the case. This channel is, well, it's nearly 3 years old, and when I first started I probably did more sort of building of, well, buildings, just because I used to paint everything as a rust bucket, which made things obviously a whole lot simpler. Whereas trying to paint miniatures and making them look good, yeah, something I couldn't do. Never enjoyed painting, so always steered clear of it. Whereas now, absolutely love it. And I say, yeah, something like this miniature, well, in the past I would never have even painted little orcs, let alone something so big and so detailed. So like all Games Workshop miniatures, yeah, this piece went together nice and simple. Obviously instructions really easy to follow, and yeah, you just take your time. And again, this is another sort of process that you want to sort of enjoy, is the actual building. So I got most of him sort of assembled, but obviously I didn't want to assemble him fully because I want to have him with Azrael, and I'm trying to recreate the sort of the front scene of obviously the box set. Yeah, so I like the idea of obviously them being in very close combat here. So much so, well, Vashtorr is obviously breathing over the other dude. So if I put his legs in where they are, he'd be kind of obviously too tall. So my thinking here is I'm going to have to adapt his legs just so he is sort of bending over just a little bit. So they are sort of, well, almost recreating the scene out of Titanic. I had thought about putting putting Vashtorr's arms around him. But yeah, kind of declined because I thought that might be a bit too silly. So I like using the Tamiya extra thin cement, and the reason for this is obviously you can put the glue on the pieces, put them together, but you can also put the pieces together and then put the glue on afterwards. As it is so thin, it just seeps into the gaps. Again, I didn't want to fully assemble Azrael, just because obviously I want to make a few changes to him. Apologies guys if I am saying these names incorrect. Again, I don't know anything really about Space Marines, except I love the look of them. So I 3D printed a nice little base here, and what I'm going to do is I've actually printed off a few more of these little bases, just because, well, I like making little dioramas, and I think these are a nice little size. So yeah, so I printed a few more out. Also, guys, if you want a chance of well, owning this little diorama I've made, stick around to the end, and I'll show you how you can possibly get your hands on this. As one thing I've always said is I don't have a lot of room where I am. Unlike a lot of obviously other YouTubers who have studios, workshops, or even garages. Yeah, I do all my sort of painting and everything else in my living room. So I don't have a lot of room to sort of store all the lovely miniatures that I sort of put together and paint. So yeah, I'm gonna basically start selling them. Obviously you better sell them, get some money, and then use that to buy more bits and pieces to make more things with. So yeah, stick around to the end, guys, and I'll be giving more information on how you can possibly buy this little diorama and some of my other things that I've made in the past. So I've kind of got them all together now. There's obviously a few big gaps at the back there, but won't worry about them just yet. Obviously I'll be getting some good old green stuff to fill in. Yeah, so again, with the poses, this is why I didn't want to put the arms on too soon, just because obviously I want him to look, say, like the front cover. So it does require a little bit of trimming, a little bit of snipping here and there, just to be able to get his arm to do the right sort of look and pose. Again, there are going to be some gaps here and there, but yeah, I will be filling them with green stuff later on. Plus, obviously, his nice big shoulder pauldrons, or whatever they're called, will sort of hide a few of the bits and pieces. And again, with his backpack, I did initially put that on and took it off because obviously I wanted to have the right angle, so it would fit nicely. And yeah, with his old Vashtorr's arm, I wanted it more bent, so it's like coming round rather than being sort of straightened out. And again, good old clips. This is why I do love the fact that these miniatures, the plastic is quite soft and can obviously be cut easily with your snips or with a sharp scalpel, unlike the blunt one that I've been using. And yeah, it's coming along quite nicely. Again, obviously big old gaps, especially in his legs, where obviously I have sort of made him sort of bending over a bit more, just because I wanted to obviously get their faces nice and close. Yeah, I guess if these guys weren't enemies, it almost looks like they're going in for a bit of a cuddle here, I think. Yeah, so green stuff. I love using it. I'm not the best at using it, but certainly when it comes to just filling in gaps and holes, yeah, then this obviously can be done by anyone because it's nice and simple. But I really would like to get some sort of nice tools and have a go at doing some more sort of proper sort of making with the green stuff, because obviously it really can be sculpted into very fine details. I have to say I absolutely love the look of both these miniatures. Obviously the Space Marine, just because he looks so cool. I do like Space Marines, the fact that they do have sort of guns, shields, and swords and all the rest of it, which is just awesome. And yeah, these are looking mighty fine. So last little thing to do, a little bit of basing. Obviously I'm going to keep the basing nice and simple, and just using them sort of like little gravel stones. And these can obviously just go on top of this base and merge in with obviously this kind of like rocky hill thing that Azrael is standing on. So yeah, quite a sort of simple diorama. Not a lot to this one, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to be looking at doing some more dioramas, but again, they will be on this size. I don't know, what do you call this? It's not a plinth, is it? Base? Yeah, I don't know, whatever it's called. So yeah, guys, have you got any ideas for little dioramas that can be done on here? Yeah, by all means, let me know. So I am now starting to sort of get a collection of different kind of miniatures, as well as some vehicles, just so I can do a bit of kit bashing and yeah, have a go at making things. So obviously one thing with this, I know a lot of sort of professional painters will be like, oh no, you want to paint them bits separately and then assemble it afterwards. Yeah, I don't like to make things too simple for myself, so obviously I've glued everything in place, and now it is a case of trying to paint it. But this is where I think the slapchop painting technique really comes in well, because any areas that I can't reach are going to sort of still be black, which kind of helps because then they're going to be in an area that is going to be sort of shaded, so the light won't really get to it sort of easily. So yeah, good old slapchop painting technique, prime in black, then we do a dry brush in grey, followed by a dry brush in white. I'm often asked sort of what kind of grey and what kind of white I use. I use cheap children's poster paints. So basically you get like a 1 litre bottle of paint for about £1. So the white is, well, obviously just the white, and the grey is just a combination of the black and white, I'll try and go for a grey that's kind of like in between sort of the black and the white. So yeah, not too dark, not too light. But obviously this is where we're all different. So I mean, you could do different sort of shades or even different colours. You don't necessarily need to use grey and white. You really could use, I don't know, yellows, browns, whatever kind of colour underneath, because this obviously would then affect and change the contrast paint or the speed paints you use. So I use obviously a combination, well, whatever kind of paints I've got to hand really. So that's why I do use some sort of contrast paints from Citadel. I probably primarily use the Army Painter paints, and that's probably more so because they've sent me loads, and obviously I've got a nice sort of variety of shades and colours. So yeah, it is a case of I do mix and match well, the paint sort of types that I use. And yeah, then it's just a case of getting the paint on. So I'm kind of sticking with the colours, or trying to stick as near as I can to the colours that are on the box set. Obviously I know a lot of people obviously paint their Space Marines in different colours, different chapters and all the rest of it. But yeah, so I'm sort of trying to sort of stay similar to the look of the board. But again, this is where if we went back a year and I had put this together, then again I would have loved the assembly of this, but then once it was assembled I'd be looking at it thinking, well, this is the best it's going to look. When I start slapping paint on this, I'm only going to make it worse. And again, that's where in the past I would spend hours and hours on sort of like one single small little miniature, normally an orc because I just love orcs. And yeah, I would find the longer I spent on it, probably the worse it got. And that's again why I never really enjoyed painting, because I'd spend so long painting something I wouldn't actually enjoy any of the painting process, and then the end result I would be like, oh geez, why did I do this? And then yeah, the miniature would definitely never see the light of day. Whereas now obviously I absolutely love the painting process because it is so easy. Honestly, anyone can do it. If I can do it, then anyone can do it. Again, I know these aren't obviously perfect in how they look, but to me, I'm very, very happy with how these come out. So again, this is where we're all different. And I know some people will be like, yeah, you just slapped a few things on and it looks meh. But yeah, no, to me, it looks great. And obviously that's where in this one, I am going to go a little bit further than just doing obviously all the contrast paints and speed paints. And yeah, I have a go at doing a few little highlights here and there. Again, that's something I've always said with this sort of style of painting. This is a great start, and it certainly will get your grey plastic into, well, tabletop ready. And then yeah, you can either sort of leave it as it is, or you can revisit it later on, or even straight away. Yeah, just to improve it, add a few bits. As I say, adding a few extra highlights, and sort of going over a few bits and pieces. And yeah, that's kind of what I do towards the end of this one. But again, I loved the painting. I love painting. I can't say it enough. I just really enjoy it. It's very obviously therapeutic, and you do sort of go off into your own wibbly wobbly world. And yeah, you are making this miniature yours, because obviously you can paint it obviously however you like, different colours. And yeah, it's just love it. Absolutely love painting. Can't say it enough. So yeah, guys, don't forget, leave some comments down below, letting me know, especially if you've sort of seen a scene on Pinterest, because I am starting to look there now, just for ideas and inspiration on what sort of like mini little setups I can make. I say I've got quite a lot of sort of odds and ends in the way of miniatures now, but I can obviously go out and buy more miniatures, because obviously any excuse to buy more, just because obviously yeah, I want to have a go at making little setups like this. Although saying that, guys, if you guys have any sort of leftover sort of miniatures, a few miniatures left on sprues, and you don't know what to do with them, or you don't want them, yeah, by all means send them to me as well, guys, and I will certainly have a go at turning your sort of leftover bits and pieces into, well, into little dioramas like this. So it wasn't too bad at all painting this miniature. Again, say when I was sort of putting it all together, I was having a little bit of thought about possibly sort of separating it and being able to paint bits separately and then glue them together. But yeah, sort of getting in and out of all the areas didn't seem too bad at all. And again, obviously, I think the main reason for wanting to put this all together in one sort of go was just because I was sort of obviously changing the stance of these figures. So it wasn't like I could fully assemble them, paint them separately, and then put them together, well, so they'd look like this. That's obviously the main reason of yeah, sort of assembling them as one, just to get the pose that I wanted. But yeah, so it wasn't too bad getting into all these sort of nooks and crannies. And again, this is where the slap chop painting technique really obviously works well, because you are sort of priming it in black. So yeah, any areas you can't really get to too well or get a lot of paint on, yeah, they're going to stay nice and dark, just as they would obviously, because they're in the shadows and not getting any light to them, which is pretty cool. So yeah, using the Army Painter speed paints here, using their metallic range, and yeah, they're not too bad. I'm sure they can be improved on, and no doubt Army Painter will, because they certainly do obviously, well, listen to people and improve everything they do. So they're bringing out more range. I mean, I've got the 3 colours, but I think there's going to be 10 in the sort of the main set, so it'll be interesting to see just how they look. So some of them come out really well. The copper one, I think, is probably my favourite one. They all go on really nice. But yeah, the copper one definitely seems to have obviously darker areas in recesses, and then obviously a lighter sort of tone on the top. The silver, well, the silver seems to be more just sort of silver all over. And probably, yeah, probably the same with the gold. The gold is just like a normal sort of gold. But so the fact that they go on really well is so nice. And I'm sure they will be, yeah, they will be improving these, and they may well be a 3.0 at some stage or whatever else. So he's pretty much sort of done the metal bits, and this is where I say I'm now going to go over and try some edge highlighting. This is where I do need probably better brushes. In the past, I've always said, doesn't matter what brush I use, it doesn't really matter, because obviously my painting technique or style, yeah, give me an expensive brush or a cheap one, I can't see me doing much difference. That being said, yeah, there are some brushes I think that are obviously better for doing edge highlighting, because to be honest, I've only got about 3 or 4 brushes, and they're all very similar. So those good old lovely people at Army Painter have or are sending me some paint brushes, so hopefully in the next video you'll see me using those, just because, yeah, I want to go doing the old edge highlighting. But the brush I use, well, it's not very good, I'm not very good, and well, I need to watch more videos on edge highlighting just to really see sort of the brush that you use, and obviously the angle that you sort of hold it at. Again, this is where I love this sort of painting thing. It's all learning, and yeah, I am definitely learning as I'm going, and well, you guys are sort of here for the journey. So again, yeah, those who have been here for like years, yeah, they'll know now that I do love painting, where it was something I used to detest, especially miniatures. Say terrain, yeah, I'd always paint terrain, although generally it was like orc terrain, so again, it didn't need to be painted too neat. Yeah, so this is where obviously on these metallic colours, I am now going to go over with a whole wash, just because, so the copper didn't seem too bad, but the gold definitely does seem to be too much of a sort of a plain flat colour of gold. So yeah, going over a wash everything. This will obviously help tie it all in as well, but it'll definitely give some nice sort of shade and some darker sort of areas in, well, in all the recesses. And yeah, so this used to always be my go-to shade, yeah, washes. I love washes. And yeah, I am heavy-handed on washes, but again, this is where I love the grimdark style. So for me, things looking weathered and worn, beaten and battered, yeah, it works really well. So normally, or in the past, whenever I've done sort of contrast speed paints, I'd paint it once, coat, and then leave it. But again, this is where I often think, or have thought, that things could be improved on, just by doing sort of a few little highlights here and there. So as I progress, obviously this one I've done a few bits on, but each sort of model I do paint, I'm going to try and do a little bit more to them after the slap chop sort of style, just to well, just see if I can improve them. And again, I was enjoying this, so that's the main thing with the painting, is the enjoyment factor, as well as obviously getting things from grey to colour and being able to use them on your tabletop is obviously, well, a big sort of highlight. But yeah, you really want to enjoy the whole process, and yeah, if you can improve your skills, then yeah, go for it, and obviously trying new things. And I think that's where the slap chop paint technique for me has given me the confidence to try new things, because if they don't work, that's fine, I will just go back and stick with the slap chop painting technique, because that will get things painted. But yeah, every now and then it is worth sort of trying little bits and pieces here and there, and I'm really pleased with how I've done this. Obviously very simple, just going over obviously the raised areas in a nice sort of lighter colour, But yeah, it's come out really well, and I'm very, very happy. So guys, yeah, if you did want to sort of buy any of the bits and pieces that I'm making, I have got an eBay account. I think it's one I've had for a good few years. I've never really used it, as I don't generally buy things off eBay. I am very much an Amazon person because, well, when I buy things, I like them to turn up the next day. But yeah, so no, I've got an eBay account, and that's where I'm going to be putting up some of the miniatures that I've made or painted. Just to say, another way of helping me fund this channel, just so I can keep on buying bits and pieces, and so I can feed myself. So yeah, there's a link down below, guys. Check out my eBay account, as that's where I will be putting things. And yeah, I will have a go at posting all over the world, so it doesn't matter if you're obviously here in the UK or in the US or Australia or wherever you might be. Yeah, I will have a go at well, posting things out to wherever you may be. So doing bases is something kind of new for me, as obviously you guys will appreciate. Whenever I make sort of miniatures, I put them on clear bases, just because I feel like I want to see obviously the terrain that's underneath them. But I always think it's weird if you've got a nice lovely miniature and he's on, say, like a grassy turf sort of base, but then you're using him inside, well, a spaceship. I always just feel the aesthetic just gets put off, because the miniatures, well, obviously he's running around on a grassy base when he's actually standing on a metallic ship. So that's kind of generally why I like to use the clear bases, which does obviously mean that I don't really do a lot with it when it comes to bases. So any bases I normally do, I do keep them simple with generally just grass or sort of dirt, mud sort of terrain. That is something I'm going to sort of start working on, and well, trying to improve my terrain techniques. So yeah, again, a little bit more sort of highlighting going on here. I did feel that both the this little dude and the cloak of Azrael obviously was a bit too dark, obviously too much wash possibly. So yeah, again, just going over with like a lighter sort of cream colour. Yeah, guys, apologies. I do try and show quite often what sort of paints I am using, but obviously I don't always sort of say what paints I'm using. I think that's generally because obviously my videos aren't so much sort of painting sort of tutorials. It is just a case of this is how I'm painting. Obviously you take from it what you can. But yeah, so the colour wise, I don't obviously always sort of say what colours I do. If you really want to know all the colours I do, by all means ask, and well, I'll try and answer. Or if you really, really want to, and there's a lot of you, then yeah, I might sort of start posting or putting up what colours I use for every little bit in the videos. Okay, so that's me just finishing off the banner, and yeah, let's have a look at the glamour shots, which, well, you've already seen. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Don't forget to check out the eBay link down below if you did want to see well, what pieces I am selling, and yeah, if you want to have a go at sort of buying them. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this dude turned out. I say I really enjoyed the putting him together, getting him into this pose, and yeah, the painting. Yeah, obviously I love painting, so yeah, very pleased with how that came out as well. And yeah, leave comments, guys. Let me know any other sort of little dioramas that I could fit on this sort of size base. Yeah, again, leave any links to Pinterest or anything you may have seen, because I would like to obviously recreate other little pieces, well, like this. If you're new here and like what I do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell, as I do produce, well, a couple of videos every week. I just want to do a big shout out and thank you to all my lovely patrons, as well as Chaos Cards, for helping support the channel. It really does mean so much to me, guys. And don't forget to check out the link down below to Chaos Cards and use my discount code to get 5% off. And if you can share the video, that'd be much appreciated, as obviously I want to grow this channel more and more. Okay guys, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.